Thank you. Thank you, everyone. So I'm Lavish Jhamb, and today I'm going to talk about how Qualys solutions, how Qualys compliance solutions help you to measure, communicate, and eliminate your compliance risk continuously. So before I go further, I want to define what compliance risk is. So your compliance risk is anything that might lead to your compliance failures, right? Your audit failures in the organization. So you got to have a good compliance solutions in place in order to de-risk your business. But compliance is something that's not very easy. It could be really challenging, and I'm going to focus on few challenges that you see here in my presentation as well. Like the biggest challenge that I feel is mapping to multiple regulations, right? So one organization, if they have to comply with, let's say, 5+ different regulations or security benchmarks, it gets really difficult, right? So I have to do PCI, but I'm failing HIPAA because I have the file access available for someone, right? So 70% of the organizations need to comply with 5+ different mandates, right? And in order to do this, you need to have some cross-mapping with all these mandates, all these security frameworks, right? Otherwise, you're going to fail the compliance. And I'll focus on these top compliance requirements which we are failing to measure. So organizations are failing the compliance due to these top requirements that you see over here. Like Kunal yesterday talked about the importance of inventory in your security posture. Mehul talked about vulnerability management, and Iran, he talked about how important, he gave an amazing session, by the way, on how important the patch management is in your organization. So these capabilities are really, very important for your security posture, but if you don't have them in place, you'll be failing compliance. So 18.5% of the organizations, they don't have the inventory in place and hence failed the compliance. Isn't it shocking to see 23.7% of the organizations were not scanning the assets for the vulnerabilities, right? And they failed the compliance. Here I'll be focusing more towards the compliance solutions, which are file integrity monitoring and configuration management. And if you combine these together, around 30% organizations are failing compliance because they don't have this thing in place, right? So if it brings me to the next challenge, what if you say, I have my compliance solution running, I have my compliance tool scanning my assets, but that is not enough, right? Because if there are like web servers, middlewares, these kind of instances, installed at non-default locations, right? They're not at default locations. Somebody has installed them in some other way by unzipping some tarball in their own user directory. You will never even find these applications being installed, so you'll never know if my Linux machine has Apache Tomcat on it or not. And it could have multiple Apache Tomcats on it, multiple versions. If these things are found out during the audits, then yeah, it's a recipe for failure, right? So if we see the percentages, 86% of the data breaches target your web servers, your middleware applications. Sad part is 32% of these mission-critical assets are never even scanned for compliance. It is nothing but a clear recipe for your compliance failures if auditors find it out. So what you need is some solution that detects these, that auto-detects these or auto-discovers these middleware applications or web servers where they are installed and all, right? Because you really can't assess what you don't know. And then this brings me to another challenge of communicating the compliance risk. The compliance communication is at multiple levels. Your CISO might want to know something. Your management might want to know something completely else, right? So thing is, your CISO would be requiring to know that what is my overall compliance posture? Is my risk decreasing, increasing? what's happening. He wants to know the overall numbers of your compliance passing or failing. But the management, on the other hand, is more worried about the coverage. Are we good for HIPAA? Am I good for PCI DSS? Am I failing or passing for my CIS controls? What's my DSA stake? So they want to know more about the coverage, unified reports, am I getting those or not? Whereas, if you want to communicate the risk to your auditors, to your IT ops teams, or to your security analysts, they go really granular. They want to see if multi-factor authentication is in place or not, password length is 18 characters or not, 14 characters or not, if there is a password complexity in place or not. So what we want our compliance solution to do is create a comprehensive report that combines these elements and serves to each role, but it's not easy, right? A lot of tools, they just scan for your misconfigs, give you a report that this misconfiguration was there, and then nothing. You don't know if this misconfiguration, this particular misconfiguration, actually is leading to PCI failure. If this particular misconfiguration is leading to HIPAA failure, right? You don't know that because there is no mapping with the traditional tools. That's a major challenge that I feel. Now, this is something that I want to focus upon. That's what I just said. Compliance is not just about scanning. It is about mapping and reporting to multiple frameworks. Let's say, if your file access is present, you might be OK with PCI, but you might be failing HIPAA, right, if the file access is there for everyone. So if you want to really know that which misconfiguration or which thing that you had in place is hampering which compliance mandate, if you know that, then only you're going to pass your compliance, right? So this is really important for any compliance solution to be in place. So what do I do? What's the solution? The solution is Qualys compliance solutions, right? We give you continuous compliance with everything in place. Look at our configuration management, file integrity monitoring solutions combined together to measure your risk. And we communicate via unified reporting, and we fix things via auto remediation. Now, if you look at the numbers, these are amazing, right? 20,000 odd controls to check your configs or misconfigs, which are mapped to 65 regulations. And there are 997, around 1,000 policies in the library. You don't need to build anything. Import, use, done. And it is mapped to, it is spread across 350 technologies. When I say technology, I mean that they are spread across web servers, middleware, network devices, regular operating systems, Windows, Linux, all flavors. Everything is there, and it's in the library. Similarly, when I talk about FIM, these are the PCI 4.0 requirements. And these are few numbers that you see. These are thoroughly analyzed numbers, and you see the highlighted ones. These are the new requirements. So PCI 4.0 wants your FIM systems to give automated log reviews. Your PCI 4.0 wants your FIM system to give an alert when your chain detection mechanism or FIM is not working, right? In that case, we are good to go with Qualys FIM, right? We are covered for this, we have complete coverage. Now, step 0 of measuring the risk is knowing your compliance surface. As I mentioned, that in the challenges, that these middleware instances, these web servers, they go undetected. But as you can see over here, we auto-discover those web servers, right? We do the auto-discovery, we know, and how do we do it is, I'll show you in the demo, but I'll give you a brief picture. We see all the running processes. And by running processes, we get to know that your Apache Tomcat, which version, where it is installed, we get all the locations, and then we scan it, right? So your assessment is done for these devices. So we classify all your mission-critical assets. Now, you would say that, OK, you do that, but I'm scanning my 100K assets for misconfigs, and I got 1 million misconfigurations. What to do now? How do I prioritize those? So this is the thing that's coming up, wherein we'll be mapping your misconfigurations to the true risk. These misconfigs will map against the factors like if this misconfiguration is susceptible to MITRE attack techniques, some adversary could come in and take privilege escalation or something. If my misconfiguration is susceptible to ransomware exposure, we'll calculate all these factors, combine it with the asset criticality, and then finally lead it to true risk so that you know what to fix first. Now, another important, very important, I would say, piece of compliance, it's a mandatory thing for your PCI 4.0, which requires you to scan your assets for any integrity modifications of your files, folders, registry objects in real time. So, and also like HIPAA needs it, NIST SI7 requirement needs it. So this solution is required by most of the compliance mandate, and it's mandatory, right? So what I want to say is we have full coverage for PCI 4.0 and other regulations. The good part is, I'll go to the good part later. So thing is, file integrity monitoring solutions are known for generating a lot of noise. You must have seen it in your organizations as well. Very smart people, you know that these things are liable to create some noise, false positives, a lot of false positives. But we have this advanced noise cancellation that I'll show you in the demo as well. So because of this inbuilt threat intelligence that we have. And the best part is, it's all with the same agent. So now we are done with like measuring the risk with config management, file integrity monitoring solutions, et cetera. The thing is, how do I communicate the risk to my auditors, compliance auditors? So we have these out-of-box reports. As I said, we have these mapping with 60 plus 65 to be precise regulations. So you'll have report for any compliance mandate that's required. For example, if you're in Europe and it's GDPR, we are good for it. If you are in US and you want to find your NIST reports for your FedRAMP compliance, you're good for it, right? So you'll be always audit ready by these beautiful reports. I'll show you it in the demo as well. Now, another way to communicate the risk is if there is a misconfiguration, am I able to create a ticket and send it to my ITSM tools, send it to my GRC tools, or like ServiceNow? So this thing is something that's there via APIs, but it's a default tab that we are going to create very soon. So it will be, you'll be able to create ServiceNow tickets for all of your misconfigurations. Now, this is the part that I want to talk about, like while eliminating the risk is, with Qualys solutions, you start compliant and you stay compliant. So there is this predefined library of remediation policies, et cetera, and there are golden images that can be baked into your CI/CD pipelines so that these compliance failures can be dropped at the initial stages itself so that non-compliant images never reach out to the production. What's the impact of doing all this? Like, we eliminated the risk. We measured, we communicated. What's the impact of all this? The impact, I'll be focusing on this second area. 80% of the compliance, more than 80% of the compliance audits pass if you have Qualys compliance solutions in place, rather than just scanning for your CIS policies. If you're just scanning for just the CIS policies, the score of passing is 51%, which is, it's not a pass, it's a fail in your audits, right? So we have this risk reduction impact. With this, I'd like to move to demo. Yeah. So as you can see, I'm starting with a dashboard, and if you see at the top, there are compliance mandates all mapped with what is your posture, compliance posture for each different mandate, different security benchmark or framework. All of this you get in this dashboard. And not only this, you get this list of top failing middleware technologies, top failing database technologies. You get this comprehensive list of what you need, right? And then we are not only going for technical controls, we also have mapping with procedural controls using our security assessment questionnaire module, which is included with policy compliance, right? So this procedural controls, you also get this. Don't just skip these procedural controls because they have around more than 70% coverage in your PCI DSS requirements, right? So you really need to have this thing in place. Now, I'll move to show the auto discovery. And then once we show like how do we discover these middleware instances, we'll move to scanning of few assets to generating the reports, and then I'll talk about file integrity monitoring, how that is done. So to auto discover the assets, you just go ahead and create a, create a profile, optional profile, select all these typical middleware technologies, and just create one optional profile, scan your assets, and in one go, you'll have all your assets, middleware instances, auto-discovered, and you'll know that where they are installed with the exact location. I'll pause it when it comes up. So this is just we are launching a scan to discover your middleware instances. You add in these details, like on what asset tags you want to scan it. So we'll be adding one tag like Windows assets. We want to check on Windows assets or Tomcat assets where this is installed, because we don't know the locations, installed locations, because it could be there at some non-default locations. So once the scan is done, you go to the assets, you select your middleware assets, and you'll know where you, So this is the area I want to focus on. If you see at the bottom of the screen, you have the complete installation locations, right? So you have these policies in place. As I said, that we have this widest coverage of policy library policies. So if you go here and you see in the library, there are multiple mandates like PCI, DSS, or NIST profiles, CIS profiles. So all of this is imported in the library itself. All you need to do is just import, add your assets, run a compliance scan. Like we are adding the tag over here, and you run a compliance scan, and you will be able to fetch a report that that's a unified report that you can show to your auditors. Something like this, it's just coming up, the report, once the policy is scanned. So if you see this dashboard, the compliance posture right now is 58%. And you can also create, by the way, this ITSM flow, as I mentioned, so creating tickets, ServiceNow tickets for your misconfigs. So you can just add in a query like which controls are failing and create a ticket for them so that it goes to required recipients, the assignees, and then they can try and fix these misconfigs. You can also auto-remediate, by the way. This feature is in beta state. This is coming up. And you can just create your remediation job, add all the assets, and then you're good to go. So you can this is this remediation job in the run. You can schedule it, by the way, and save and enable. And this will create the remediation job. It's in the executing state, the first job. If you see, once it's completed, it means your misconfigs are auto-remediated because these library scripts, remediation scripts, are all out of the box, provided by Qualys. Your compliance posture increased from 58% to 87%. And then you can create these mandate reports. It's pretty simple. All these things are inbuilt. You just need to select the templates and generate your automated reports for various mandates. Here we are creating one for NIST that has complete. Once the report is created, I'll show you what all it has. It is running from top level, what your CISO needs, compliance posture, and it will go to the bottoms for wherein we have like what control is passing or failing, each for your IT auditors. So this is a confirmation for report. Let's run it. Yeah, you see this report. At the top, you have this compliance posture for every different mandate that you need. And then you go at the bottom, show each control, why it is passed, why it is failed. Now, this will be required for the in-depth analysis for your IT people. So now let's talk about file integrity monitoring, wherein you just define the scope of your assets, activate. It's like one click, and you're done. So you just activate, and your FIM solution is activated on the assets. If you go further, like from the cloud agent module, you activate. Now the part that comes in is I've activated my FIM module. Now what to do? Which files to monitor? Because this takes a lot of time of your analyst, like what to monitor. So all this is in the library. Just write PCI. You find the PCI policies from the library. Just import it and add the assets to it. It has all the critical file paths that you need to monitor. Everything is there. The file paths, the critical ones, along with the inclusion-exclusion filters. Like you need to know what do I not need to monitor, right? So all of this is there so that like you see this rule wherein we are monitoring the NTDS folder, but we show that, OK, go for dep3 and exclude these files because we try these profiles in our production environment. Based on feedback, we know that what is noise, what is not, and then we exclude certain files and folders and create a policy for you. And then you can assign the asset, like asset scope, this PCI scope tag is added. And once that is added, you can just enable the profile, activate it. This policy is activated. Once that is done, you'll start receiving the events. Now, I'm going to the good part wherein you see the noise, like 211K events. Now, I want to check only for the suspicious and malicious events. So these events are mapped against a threat feed, and we know which ones are suspicious in nature. So from 200K events, we are reduced to 32 events. You can go into the details, see which user created it, what's the file paths, what's the reputation status of it, and you'll have like all these details about particular event, right? So like here the file reputation status was suspicious in nature. So once you have this thing, now how do I communicate this? You can go ahead and create reports. This is the new PCI requirement. As I mentioned, PCI wants you to alert the required stakeholders if there are non-compliant assets in the organization. So you can create like these event-based reports. And I'll go to the asset-based report, which will automatically find the non-compliant assets. It means the assets on which FIM is not running. So you check this box, and automatically the query is populated. You can notify the people and create automated reports for showing the non-compliance in FIM. So it will, like every 7 a.m., your CISO goes in, your IT guys goes in, and they'll know, OK, there will be no more surprises in my FIM audit. I know what's not working, right? So these are the kind of details that are there in your reports. Every asset which is not working, you'll know beforehand, before right, really, you won't be surprised in your audits, right? This is a kind of dashboard wherein like we have these events from 2022, so 1.7 million events, but my SOC teams need to worry about only 37. Right? This is the kind of intelligence that we have in it. And then you see like delete activities by non-privileged users. All of this is there in the demo. So with this, I'd like to end my demo. And I would like to call Nikhil Vaidya from Elevance Health. And he'll tell you like how they are using Qualys compliance solutions. Thank you.